Punky Brewster won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
They live.
Oh,
They do. They live.
Yeah, they live behind the scenes, baby, and they got bugged out eyes and weird looking faces.
Yeah, they're all gross.
Yeah, they want us to consume and obey.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Watch TV. I mean, it's all pretty much stuff that I do anyway, I was noticing.
That's true.
It's like watch TV, eat, consume, sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm pretty much obeying.
and you
Like-
have the show, Jim. The show is the way of turning it on their head.
Yeah, we're sticking it to the man. Once a week.
So take yourself back to 1988.
Nice.
May 11th, Ed Walters claims his fourth encounter with a UFO over the previous 6 months, who saw the UFO and took a photo of it, then lost consciousness for an hour. He'd released dozens of photos since the first encounter. A model UFO was found in his home 2 years later, although he claims he still doesn't know who made it.
The aliens made it. They took me up there, okay? They took me up, there's my ship. Close encounter of the fourth kind. And then, just to F with me, they made a model and put it in my house, so everybody thinks I'm a liar. Well, I'm no liar. I'm no liar.
That's actually pretty close to Ed Walters, so it's pretty good.
He's no liar.
August 29th, at SummerSlam, the Mega Powers, including Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, defeat the Mega Bucks, including Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase, in a tag team match with Jesse Ventura as the special guest referee.
That's when I watched wrestling.
I know.
Wrestling was so good
I know,
back then.
same.
With all those guys, they were the best. I mean, no offense to The Rock and all those guys.
Sure.
But they wouldn't be here if these crazies didn't pave the way.
Under the giant.
So I just love the fact that it was the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing is just
Like
so
the
dumb.
lottery.
It's so dumb. But
Who
it's
won? Who
great.
won?
I believe the Mega Powers won. I think it was Hogan and Savage.
Probably.
winning.
Because Andre
Yeah.
the Giant was a bad guy.
He did. He was the heel for a long, and Ted DiBiase definitely was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse the Bod Ventura.
Yeah. He was a governor at one point.
Yeah, he was.
He was governor. He was a pretty good governor.
Yeah. He was. I was living in Iowa when he was governor of Minnesota, and I got to be honest, I was a little jealous
If it
because
bleeds, we could kill it.
our governor was terrible. So it was, but he was just no nonsense. He was good. I mean,
Yeah.
I do also find it very interesting that now two people from the movie Predator have become governors of states.
Yes, the governmental.
October 27th, Ronald Reagan decides to tear down the new U.S. Embassy in Moscow because of Soviet listening devices in the building structure. November 4th, They Live is released in theaters.
Yeah.
So obviously, They Live starts with John Carpenter. By the end of this month, we will have covered John Carpenter more than any other director.
As we should.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite. He's in the top 5, man. I mean,
yeah.
I can't wait until we get to The Thing.
Yeah.
Because that's like my favorite horror movie ever. It's the best.
so
All of his movies are great. This movie is so like ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And just so prescient about like, it's just so great that they took the biggest knucklehead weirdo. and I love Rowdy Roddy Piper, but they just took this weird knucklehead weirdo and made him like the face of fighting fascism or whatever, alien fascists.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so it's such an amazing film. And any movie that has a third of the film is one fight scene,
Yeah.
it's ballsy, baby.
It's true. That's true. Carpenter was interested in films from an early age, particularly the westerns of Howard Hawks and John Ford, as well as 1950s low-budget horror films such as The Thing from Another World and high-budget science fiction like Forbidden Planet, and began filming horror short films with 8mm film even before starting high school.
Wow, it's expensive, man.
Yeah, I'm
You
sure
gotta send it away.
his parents were like, another movie?
Yeah, I gotta make movies. I gotta scare everybody.
Carpenter made it big with his seminal Halloween film, Halloween.
Yes. What a great movie, too, by the way. You know it's not a great movie?
The new one?
Halloween
Ends.
Should have ended the movie before.
I've heard that it's a good horror movie, just not a good Halloween movie. Here's the thing, and this is what frustrates the S out of me with streaming services and Universal. I've not seen Halloween from 2018. I've not seen Halloween Kills.
Which were pretty good.
Halloween Ends is available now. Why aren't those available? I want to watch all three of them.
They want you to rent them, baby.
Yeah, but now I'm not gonna watch Halloween Ends now.
See, Peacock, you effed up.
Yeah.
Adam's not watching it.
Yeah.
Adam's not watching it.
That is a lot of hours.
And the way Adam goes, the way the country goes, baby.
Yeah.
So you're effed. Look, I really enjoyed the big old fight between the two of them.
Yeah,
Thought it was cool. But
was it as long as the fight when they live?
No. There's no such thing as like you could watch a whole wrestling
whole other movie
event, and it wouldn't be as
yeah.
much as this amazing fight scene.
The SummerSlam Mega Powers versus Mega Bucks actually was shorter.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, watch it. See what you think.
I mean, I do want to see them. I mean, it's just that they haven't been easily available, and although now I think Halloween Kills is on HBO Max or something, but I can't find to the 2018 Halloween, and it's like it's a trilogy. I want to see it from the beginning.
No, you should.
Yeah,
but yeah, whatever. It's not as good.
It doesn't take anything away from the original Halloween.
Long story short, the original Halloween is the best one of the
Yes,
bunch. And
yes.
every other one is pretty much crappy. I mean, let's be honest.
It's why
All
they
of the
had
Halloween
to reboot it constantly because they were trying to capture that magic, and it
can't look. The original film is brilliant. And it's nicely self-contained.
Yeah. Yes.
And the second one was pretty interesting because it took place right afterwards.
Yeah,
There
it
was a lot
was.
of stuff
It
going on in the
expanded,
hospital.
and it.
But it didn't get any better from there.
No.
And if you go back over the oeuvre, I don't think Halloween Ends is any worse than any of the other horrible pieces of ass that were made under the Halloween banner.
My favorite will always be Halloween 3 because it had nothing to do with anything
love
else.
Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
I think it's totally underrated.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in the theater with my grandma.
I feel like that's where the series should have gone. They should have gone away from Michael Myers and just continued
Halloween stories,
stories,
crazy stuff. Yeah, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch was a bold choice that didn't hit, but I liked it.
I agree.
It was scary. Masks, man.
Yeah.
Putting on
It's
masks,
frightening.
getting brainwashed. It's like they live. Another consumer nightmare.
Yeah, that's true.
Another cautionary tale about consumerism.
That is true.
Try to get us back on track.
All right. So after Halloween, obviously John Carpenter could do whatever he wanted. He made a bunch of movies. In 1986, he did Big Trouble in Little China, which we've already covered. But it was financially a failure, unfortunately, making just over $11 million off a $25 million budget.
And it's now just such a huge cult film.
Now. Yeah.
They're talking about making a new one with The Rock.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The problem is at the time, because it didn't make money, nobody would give Carpenter money anymore.
Well, they didn't know how to market it, and they didn't market it correctly. Because
that doesn't matter.
I know,
I agree,
know.
but
It's just-
Bob,
it's
the
one of those-
executive, just sees numbers.
Hey guys, I heard my name. My
Sorry.
ears were bleeding.
Yeah.
Not because of what you said, just bad.
All right, Bob.
Bad plastic surgery.
So does it come down to numbers for
Yeah,
you?
definitely. I mean, look, let's be honest. The only color that matters is green. And
And not that red that's coming out of your ears?
oh
Okay.
god, it hurt so bad. One of my kids jammed a pencil in there.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Wow.
and my kids are troubled.
I can tell.
Yeah, I better go get them.
All right.
I left them
Thanks,
outside
Bob.
again.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. Thanks for stopping by.
Ugh,
Yeah.
blood everywhere.
God, that was let's get a mob. Jesus.
Worried about Bob.
So he resumed making lower budget films such as Prince of Darkness in 1987.
Totally underrated.
Agreed. A film influenced by the BBC series Quatermass, which I watched the original 1953 Quatermass experiment. I think they actually call him Quatermass. It's super weird.
What does that mean?
I have no idea. It's his name.
His name is
it's his name.
Quatermass?
He's Dr.
Quatermass?
Quatermass. I think it's Quatermass. Mass. It's so hard to say.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. So Prince of Darkness did fairly well, garnering $14 million off of a $3 million budget. So he's proven himself again. The idea for They Live came from a short story called 8 O'Clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson, originally published in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction in November of 1963, involving an alien invasion in the tradition of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Man, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They made that a bunch of times, but I think the best one is the
sorry,
Donald
I was doing the
Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland point. Yeah.
So
good.
so scary
It's so
at
good.
the end, and his face, man, his face. Donald
It's
Sutherland.
creepy. It is one of the most unsettling movies I've ever seen.
Oh,
Like, it is-
definitely,
it is
definitely.
So good.
And speaking of good, Donald Sutherland is in the Mr. Harrigan's Phone,
Oh,
Stephen
yeah.
King adaptation on
Yeah.
Netflix, which I really enjoyed.
Nice.
It's
Okay.
a nice, it's a nice, easygoing thriller kind
Nice.
of thing.
Okay.
It wasn't too crazy or violent or whatever. It just was like a nice little ride.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. Ray Nelson claims to have invented the iconic propeller beanie that became synonymous with sci-fi nerds in the 1950s.
Really?
This was literally his claim to fame. He talks about it all the time. Don't know why. He's a writer. I mean, he's a writer.
But
Like
where did that come from?
I don't know.
The propeller beanie.
I don't-
And I don't know if sci-fi nerds wear the propeller beanie. It seems to me
Same.
that just idiots wear it. They put them on to make.
Agreed.
Isn't
I
like
think-
Tweedledee and Tweedledum wear a
I think
propeller
it's. I think it's. Yeah, I think so.
Something to that?
Kind of. Yeah.
beanie? Well, good for him.
I don't know.
Have you ever worn one?
No.
I did.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I had one.
Because you had
Everybody
to. It was
one.
mandated by the government.
Hey, look, if you're a certain age, you had a propeller beanie.
I did not. I was
They
too
were
young.
issued
I
to you
was
in
too young.
school.
Yeah. So Ray Nelson actually wrote a novel with Philip K. Dick in 1967 about an alien invasion called The Ganymede Takeover. They'd actually been friends since childhood. Nelson actually says that the 2 times he did LSD were with Philip K. Dick.
That would be fun.
To
To
do
dose
LSD with Philip K.
Philip K.
Dick?
Dick?
I don't know, man. Did you ever read the Valis trilogy?
Yeah, but I just...
Dude got insane.
It'd be funny if he's just like, hey, I really like unicorns and puppy dogs, and let me tell you a story about a little kitty who lost his way.
No, instead he was talking about the giant AI in the sky that was controlling everything.
Yeah, but maybe when he was on LSD, he changed and was talking
Possibly.
about puppies and kitties.
Although I will say, Philip K. Dick at one point, I think it was while he was on LSD, claimed that this Valis thing talked to him and told him about his son having a certain tumor or something. That he then took his kid to the doctor and they found this tumor.
Okay, I'm
So,
sold.
There you go. Philip K. Dick, purveyor of the future.
I'm just going to say this. I'm not a proponent or against, but there's a lot of mystery with LSD and mushrooms. And
That's true.
There's
That's true.
a lot of benefits to it, apparently.
Yeah.
For PTSD and for anxiety and for even like quitting smoking and stuff.
Yeah,
It's there's a lot of medicinal benefits to this.
there's a few people I know that microdose the mushrooms now because
Yeah.
it helps with the depression and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I've tried that.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, it's like coffee, but everything's a little wiggly.
Nice. So Ray Nelson also taught writing to Anne Rice in the 1970s.
Nice. Should have taught her a little better. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking.
I've never read any Anne Rice. So I have
She's
no
great.
idea.
I loved Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah.
That I read all of those books in college and really enjoyed them.
Nice.
She's great.
Okay, that's good. I mean, the movie's great. I just have never read. It's never been my thing.
The books are so much better than the movie.
Oh,
It's
sure,
always.
sure.
But it's one of those things where they didn't get it as good as they. I'm hoping the series they'll get it.
Interesting, because I really liked Interview with the Vampire.
Oh,
I
it's
thought
a
the
good
movie
movie.
was done really
It's
well.
a good movie. It's fine. It's just it missed a lot of the really intricate parts of the story that made it a little bit more fleshed out. I would think.
Then I'm more curious to see the show now. John Carpenter describes Nelson's story as
A DOA type of story in which a man is put in a trance by a strange hypnotist. When he awakens, he realizes that the entire human race has been hypnotized and that alien creatures are controlling humanity. He has only until 8 o'clock in the morning to solve the problem.
all right. That's
Yeah.
pretty much the summary of 8
Nice.
o'clock in the morning.
It's like 3 o'clock high.
Nelson, along with artist Bill Ray, adapted 8 o'clock in the morning into a story called Nada, published in the Alien Encounters comics anthology in April of 1986. Bill Ray has had a featured series that appeared in more than 100 issues of Mad Magazine.
Oh, I probably saw it.
Yeah, he had an ongoing thing that he wrote and draw in the 80s, yeah.
What was it?
I don't remember what it was called. I didn't write it down, so I don't know.
Because I could probably tell
I'm
you.
sure. I mean, it went over 100 issues. Like, I imagine you probably read most of them.
Oh yeah, we got a archive in the
You can check
closet.
it out. I'll look to see when the dates are.
We have a bunch of old.
I imagine it
80s
was
Mad
between
magazines.
84 and 90 probably, or maybe early, sometime in the
right.
80s. He would go on to work on the Ren and Stimpy Show and Samurai Jack.
Nice, both great shows.
Yeah, both very fantastic. I'm in the middle of watching Samurai Jack right now, and it is the weirdest, most amazing Hanna-Barbera cartoon I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's different.
It's
for sure.
It's amazing. Carpenter acquired the film rights to both the comic book and short story and wrote the screenplay using Nelson's story as a basis for the film structure. Because the screenplay was the product of so many sources, a short story, a comic book, and input from cast and crew, Carpenter decided to use the pseudonym Frank Armitage. Frank Armitage is an allusion to one of the filmmaker's favorite writers, H.P. Lovecraft. Henry Armitage is a character in Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror. Carpenter has always felt a very close kinship with Lovecraft's worldview, and according to the director...
Lovecraft wrote about the hidden world, the world underneath. His stories were about gods who were repressed, who were once on Earth and are now coming back. The world underneath has a great deal to do with they live.
Yeah. I could see how he's very influenced by Lovecraft.
Sure.
Especially mostly seen in his Apocalypse trilogy, which he calls, which includes The Thing in 1982, which we'll be covering later, Prince of Darkness in 1987, and In the Mouth of Madness in 1994, which has very heavy allusions to Lovecraft's works. Carpenter has said that the film's political commentary derives from his dissatisfaction with the economic policies of then U.S. President Ronald Reagan and increasing commercialization in both the popular culture and politics of the era. Upon the film's release, he remarked,
The picture's premise is that the Reagan Revolution is run by aliens from another galaxy. Free enterprises from outer space have taken over the world and are exploiting Earth as if it's a third world planet. As soon as they exhaust all our resources, they'll move on to another world. I began watching TV again and quickly realized that everything we see is designed to sell us something. It's all about wanting us to buy something. The only thing they want to do is take our money.
Oh, yeah.
that is pretty much Reaganomics.
Pretty
To a
much
T.
Amerinomics.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So after he finished the script, they moved on to casting. He cast Rowdy Roddy Piper as Nada. Nada was originally written with Kurt Russell in mind, but after having worked with him 4 times in the previous 10 years, he decided to try another actor for the part.
Oh, he would have been great.
He would have, and I get it. I mean, he's worked with him for a long time, but there's still something about Roddy Piper. But they considered a ton of other actors, like...
Alec Baldwin, Michael Biehn, Brian Bosworth, Jeff Bridges, Bruce Campbell, Tom Cruise, Harrison Ford, Mel Gibson, Tommy Lee Jones, Michael Keaton, Christopher Lambert, Stephen Lang, Dolph Lundgren, Michael Madsen, Bill Paxton, Ron Perlman, Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Sylvester Stallone.
Patrick Swayze, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Bruce Willis. What, did they just, every actor working that day,
given the movie's budget, a large portion of those actors couldn't have been seriously considered.
Yeah, Harrison Ford, no.
Schwarzenegger in 88 was not going to be, you weren't going to be paying him on a $3 million budget.
Hey, how you guys doing? It wasn't serious for me, because it costs a lot of money to get a guy like this, with a body like this. Go get it cheap.
I am sure that he probably just wrote down a wish list, and it was like, okay, nobody, I don't think anybody on this list was seriously considered.
Well, I also don't think many people on this list would have done a better job. I think Ron Perlman would have been great.
Yeah.
I think Bill Paxton would have been really interesting. But I don't think Arnold, it's not an action movie.
No,
You don't need an action guy. You need an everyman.
Right,
I mean, that's the thing. Roddy Piper, even though he was a professional wrestler, he was still just kind of a,
he
just
was
a
a dude,
big
yeah.
lug. He's just a lug. He looks like a laborer that could go
He does.
from place to place. It's like they picked the right guy.
Yeah. Carpenter decided to cast somebody more naturally rugged. He had actually met Roddy Piper during WrestleMania 3 in 1987, mainly because Carpenter has always been a huge pro wrestling fan, having written a column for The Ring magazine for a little while.
Yeah, Carpenter's rad. He's also a huge video game fan.
Yeah.
And I read an article. He basically plays exactly what we play.
Oh, nice.
He likes
Nice.
Red Dead 2. He likes, he really got into Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Oh, nice. That's so funny. I just can imagine him sitting around playing video games.
He loves him. That's why I love him. I love him so much.
Roddy Piper, whose real name is Roderick George Toombs, was raised in Winnipeg, Canada.
Mr. Toombs.
I just love the Tombs. It's such a great name.
Rowdy Toombs.
Yeah. After being expelled from junior high for having a switchblade in school
Bad boy.
and falling out with his father, Piper left home and stayed in youth hostels.
I fell out with my father.
He's got the weirdest, like
It's
like a combination of American and a bit of Canada and a little bit of a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
It's like it's impossible.
It's super weird.
I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
That's close. A little too much Scottish, but like it's
No,
close.
not
That was
bad.
close.
It just sounds so weird.
It is very odd. He picked up odd jobs at local gyms, running errands for several professional wrestlers. As a young man, he became proficient in playing the bagpipes, though he repeatedly has stated that he was unsure exactly where he picked them up.
That's odd. Because it's a big old thing to pick up. And it's in the top 3 of horrible instruments.
Living on the streets and playing the bagpipes.
The bagpipes. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Although when played well,
it still
when
sounds
played
awful.
well,
Nope. Nope.
I disagree. I disagree.
Nope.
So Rowdy Piper was actually homeless for a while after he left. I mean, he lived in a lot of encampments. He talked about how the homeless scene like really brought back a lot of bad memories for him.
They did it. I mean, they played
Yeah.
that pretty real. you know?
Yeah. That whole area where they did all that is still undeveloped. Like it's still this weird, scrabbly, messed up area.
Oh.
I mean, it still has a lot of homeless people living there.
Yeah. Well, let's not get into it, but there's a huge homeless problem in
Yes.
Los Angeles, and you know how bad it is because it was bad back then in '88.
Yeah.
And it's worse now.
It is. So soon after he turned to professional wrestling to earn money. He actually has a black belt in judo. Piper actually gave up wrestling in the WWF to act in They Live.
You know, I think it's easy to get a black belt in judo because it seems like so many people have judo black belts.
I mean, maybe it is.
I'm going to try.
All right.
I'm going to go, and by the time we do the next show, I'll probably have a black belt in judo.
All right. That is horribly disrespectful to the people that have actually gotten a black belt in judo.
We'll see.
So he gave up wrestling in the WWF to act in They Live. Vince McMahon didn't like the idea of Piper being in the movie, most likely as McMahon would earn no money from the venture. So he barred Piper from being in the movie, so Piper quit.
Good for him. Vince McMahon is a D-bag.
Oh,
Horrible
D-bag.
human being.
Yeah.
And what short-sighted BS is that?
Yeah.
You know, let your wrestlers branch out. So bring some normies into your world of weirdness, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the movie did well. Piper got more popular. He ended up wrestling with the WCW and made them a ton of money.
Yeah.
So shockingly enough, Vince McMahon a couple years later asked him to come back.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Green is good.
Piper had his first lead role in a film earlier in the year in the January 1988 release Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Hell comes to Frogtown.
You ever seen Hell Comes to Frogtown?
Yeah. So there's this town where all these frogs live. And all of a sudden, this big guy played by Roddy Piper, his name is Dr. Fiends, he comes down to this pond where all the frogs live to grab the frogs for experiments. And so they're like, you know, they have to fight against Dr. Fiends to save them and their lily pad lifestyle from being destroyed. So when Fiends comes, he brings Hell to Frogtown.
Surprisingly, that's pretty close. Just set it in the post-apocalyptic era, and you pretty much nailed it.
Nice. The post-apocalyptic frog.
It was not a good movie. While other professional wrestlers have appeared in feature films, like Hulk Hogan as Thunder Lips in Rocky III,
That's right, brother.
Andre the Giant in The Princess Bride 1987,
I don't think you know what that means.
and Piper is credited with being the first professional wrestler to be cast in the lead of a film.
Yeah.
He was very proud of this and would go on and on and on about how he kickstarted all the pro wrestlers got to be in the movies.
Here comes Piper. He's going to start talking about how he kickstarted all the wrestlers in movies. Hey, fellas. How you doing? That's great. Did I tell you about the time I got into the movies?
The very first job I ever had in LA was working for the G4 network, and I was transcribing interviews, and the first interview I transcribed was with Rowdy Piper.
Nice.
For some wrestling game. They asked one question, and he talked for 25 minutes.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
But the whole thing about him being young, and like he went all the way back. He told his whole life story to answer one question. It was really
to
fun.
to answer this question, we're gonna have to go back to 1962.
It was great. It was really cool to watch because he was just being himself.
He was great.
Yeah.
I mean, love him or hate him, he was a genuine article.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, he was who he was. Guy'd been through a lot, you know.
Yeah.
He wasn't some coddled...
No, he earned everything
Yeah,
he got.
exactly.
For sure. And he was a very honest man. Like he wouldn't, you'll notice in some of the shots that he has a wedding ring on, which the character's not supposed to be like anonymous.
Right.
But he refused to take the wedding ring off because he'd gotten married a few years earlier and he loved his wife and he was like, I'm not doing that. So Carpenter was like, sure.
Well, because he believed that when you took your ring off, you weren't married. So he was really worried that if he took the ring off, his wife would cheat on him.
All right, fair. Fair. The line, I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass and I'm all out of bubblegum, was ad-libbed by Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Bubblegum.
He had actually wrote it down in a journal. He would go on to use it while wrestling. He wrote down a bunch of one-liners because that's what they do in wrestling.
Yeah.
It would also be used by Duke Nukem in the video game series.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. After They Live, Piper has appeared in over 40 movies and TV shows. Carpenter actually makes a joke on the DVD commentary about how Piper has more experience in movies than he does.
I've only made 20.
He says,
Yeah, but you made 20 good ones.
replied Piper.
They were great. Great movies.
He went very full Scottish later in his life.
Sometimes he does, yeah. Or sometimes he just goes Canadian, eh?
Yeah.
When he's mellow.
It's somewhere in between there.
I know, hey, I'm a Canadian, but I'm also from Scotland. I'm a Scottish Canadian.
He would just waver back and forth. It was.
It must have been confusing.
Unfortunately, Piper died from a heart attack in 2015 at the age of 61.
So young.
Yeah.
It's probably steroids, man. I mean, the stuff that they had to do.
I mean, they even regardless if they're doing steroids, they abuse their bodies.
Yes,
I mean,
painkillers and all sorts
yeah,
of stuff.
it's just
and
so much
shooting them
these
full of
guys.
Demerol. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just they were basically stock. You know, they
Yeah.
were like cattle
that's
or horses.
Exactly how Vince McMahon sees them.
Yeah, he was just they were his cattle, and he would do whatever it needs to get them to the shoot.
Yeah. They cast Keith David as Frank Armitage.
Keith David, he's my favorite.
David made his feature film debut in The Thing, working with John Carpenter. He worked in TV for a few years, most notably on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as Keith the Handyman.
Nice.
Yeah. He was cast in Oliver Stone's Platoon in 1986, and then after a memorable turn in Hot Pursuit in 1987, David started getting
was
booked.
great.
He was fine.
He was great.
David started getting booked for everything, appearing in 5 movies that were released in 1988, including They Live. Also including Braddock Missing in Action 3, starring Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Always following the other guys.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Chuck Norris. I'm always 2 steps behind.
2 steps behind Chuck. That's what they call him.
Yeah.
Off Limits, an action thriller starring Willem Dafoe and Gregory Hines. I don't know if you've seen that. It was set during Vietnam. Or
Probably.
in Vietnam. I don't know if it was during Vietnam, but yeah. Stars and Bars, a comedy starring Daniel Day-Lewis. Never heard of this.
No.
And he was in Bird about Charlie Parker, directed by Clint Eastwood.
That was great.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker. Yeah. Great movie.
Bird.
For They Live, Carpenter needed someone.
Who wouldn't be a traditional sidekick, but could hold his own.
To this end, Carpenter wrote the role of Frank specifically for David. David has appeared in over 300 projects on TV, film, and voiceover for video games.
Yeah, I mean, he probably was like, I loved working with him on The Thing.
Yeah.
I want to have my buddy back.
They didn't work together again after this, which is really sad because they do really good work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because of his love of video games, I heard he's adapting he's going to adapt the movie version of the game Dig Dug.
Oh, nice.
And
Starring
that's a
Keith
perfect
David?
role for Keith
Yeah.
David is Dig Dug, digging them holes. Remember Dig Dug?
How is it? Yes, I remember Dig Dug. How is it a perfect role for Keith David?
Okay. So, I don't know if you know this, but Keith David in his youth was a professional shoveler.
Shoveler.
Yeah.
Okay.
They would have shovel contests.
Oh, shovel contest.
Yeah, in like places where it would snow. So they would have
Oh.
these contests where they would give these guys shovels, and whoever could shovel the walk fastest won, and he won every single time. They used to call him Dig Dug.
I'm going to disagree with you because if he's shoveling snow, that is very different than dirt, which Dig Dug dug dirt.
Dig Dug dirt. But but I'm telling you, he moved from snow to dirt.
Okay.
He wasn't just a
It's not the
snow
same.
time
They're
shoveler, baby.
They're very different. Look,
He shoveled dirt. He shoveled grit. He shoveled silt. He shoveled granite. And he shoveled kale.
as someone...
Shale.
Okay, kale. He would shovel kale.
And kale.
As someone with a lifetime subscription to The Shoveler Enthusiast,
Ooh.
I know very much about how different these things can be when you're shoveling them.
Touche. Okay. All right.
So they cast Meg Foster as Holly Thompson. Funny enough, Holly Thompson, Meg Foster, is the only character that is actually given a name in the entire movie.
Wow. She has the craziest eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're beautiful, but they're weird beautiful.
It's funny because the second, and I remember this from the first time I saw it, I was probably too young, but the second she came on the screen, I was like, she has to be an alien or something. Like, it was, her eyes like were giving away the fact
Yeah.
that she was like working with the bad guys.
She always seemed kind of like, she always reminded me a little bit of Kirstie Alley. Like, I'd get them mixed up a little bit.
Okay.
Back in the time.
Foster is one of the few actors who has managed to not just hide their age, but their actual birthday from the internet. Literally, her entire birthday cannot be found.
All right. Well, then she's 29.
I'm gonna hazard a guess that she probably was born in 1950. That's my thought. Her first credited appearance is in the 1970 movie Adam at 6 a.m., starring Michael Douglas and Joe Don Baker.
Yeah, it was all about you and how they had to get you up at 6 a.m. for school, and you were such a little snot about it. And you're like, I don't want to get up. And they're like, get up, Adam. We got to get you up for school. And you're like, I ain't doing it. And you pull the covers all up over you, and then they have to pull the covers off, and then it was this whole thing.
Ironically, I did get up at 6 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, well, nice.
Foster had just come off playing Evelyn in the Masters of the Universe adaptation in 1987.
Ugh.
I'm going to make you like that movie.
Yeah, well, we're going to do it. We're going to do the movie. I'm going to hate watch it.
It has that weird instrument. It's so cool. She's gone on to appear in over 100 movies, TV shows, and TV movies over the years. She's appeared in more horror movies as of late, appearing in Lords of Salem and 31 for Rob Zombie.
31? I never heard of that one.
Came out in 2016.
What was it about?
A bunch of serial killers. What is every movie Rob Zombie does about? I think it was supposed to be the third, or like it was connected somehow to his previous movies.
I thought it was the origin of Baskin Robbins. 31 flavors.
Yeah, it was. But they're serial killers. That was the whole thing.
Well, they each like a different flavor.
Right. Yes.
So, like John Wayne Gacy was Praline Dream. That was his favorite. And,
Gross.
and Jeffrey Dahmer liked Rainbow Sherbet.
She most recently can be seen in Hellblazers, starring Bruce Dern, Billy Zane, Tony Todd, Courtney Gaines, and Adrian Barbeau.
Nice. Courtney Gaines is awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. We've met him a couple times.
He used to be the musical guest sometimes for our comedy group, The Choops.
Nice. Yeah, he's a very nice guy. He's a good dude.
And a great actor. And Children of the Corn.
Oh, my God, so good. And she can also be seen in the upcoming Haunted 333, also starring Courtney Gaines and Corin Nemec.
Ooh, from, what was that show that he did?
Corky's All Right? No.
Parker Lewis.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose. That was such a great show. I love that show.
It was a great show. Raymond St. Jacques was cast as the street preacher. After appearing in bit parts on television in the early 1960s, St. Jacques made his film debut in a small part in the 1964 film Black Like Me. St. Jacques' best-known film roles were that of Coffin Ed in the blaxploitation classics Cotton Comes to Harlem in 1970 and Come Back Charleston Blue in 1972. In the early 1970s, St. Jacques began teaching fencing and acting at the Mafundi Institute in Watts, Los Angeles. In 1973, he produced, directed, and starred in the crime film Book of Numbers. St. Jacques frequently spoke of the prejudices he and other African-American actors faced and difficulties in being cast in non-stereotypical, thoughtful roles.
Yeah, and this isn't that long ago.
No. He later worked to help African-Americans find work behind the camera. In 1977, he publicly criticized the lack of minority actors in Star Wars, which he stated he saw 5 times, and other science fiction films.
He wasn't wrong.
Yeah. During his career, St. Jacques appeared frequently in plays by Shakespeare, He played Othello a number of times, and actually I think he was Romeo in Romeo and Juliet.
A little long in the tooth to be playing Romeo.
Yeah.
I didn't know Romeo was 50.
Well, it was over his whole career. So,
okay.
Yeah. After They Live, he appeared in Ed Zwick's Glory as Frederick Douglass.
Nice.
I loved that movie. It was such a good movie.
It was glorious.
It's glorious. Unfortunately, he passed from lymphoma in 1990.
Ah.
Yeah. George Buck Flower was cast as the drifter / collaborator.
Hey, boys. Why don't you come? I'm going to show you everything that they do. Come on in. Let me give you a tour and explain every single thing about the plot.
Flower is an actor, writer, producer, assistant director, production manager, and casting director. He's worked on over 100 productions. Because he has a gruff appearance, he was constantly cast as homeless or drunk.
Nice.
He first worked with John Carpenter on The Fog in 1980.
I played a homeless drunk.
He would make cameos for Carpenter in 5 more movies, including They Live.
I was a drunken homeless guy there.
Escape from New York in 1981.
Futuristic drunk homeless guy.
Starman in 1984.
Ooh, homeless drunkie from outer space.
Body Bags, a TV movie in 1993, co-directed by Tobe Hooper.
Drunk, dead, drifting, homeless guy.
And Village of the Damned in 1995.
Just a damned old drunken homeless guy.
Flower appeared in a very different Alien movie, Mac and Me, in 1987, just before They Live.
Oh, God. Have you seen that?
Of course.
Mac and Me, for those of you who don't know, was this McDonald's-produced rip-off of E.T. And most people know this because of a running gag that Paul Rudd has done on every variation of the Conan O'Brien show up until his podcast, where he would tell Conan, oh, yeah, I got a clip of the show. Or I got something. And it would always be the shot from Mac and Me of the little wheelchair boy going down the hill, falling off the hill into the water. And then the worst puppet ever made, Mac.
So bad.
Was it Mac was the
Mac,
alien? Or was me the alien? No, it was Mac.
It was Mac.
And he pops up. It's so... That one scene encapsulates that movie perfectly. If one scene can encapsulate a movie perfectly, it's that more so than any other movie ever.
Yeah.
And,
it's really bad.
Paul Rudd is giving a lot of legs to Mac and Me.
Yes. So Flower is also well known for playing Red the Bum in Back to the Future and Back to the Future Part 2.
I should the bum. I wasn't drinking too much in those movies because he's PG.
He saw the car. He's the only one that saw the car come back and forth multiple times.
I gotta quit drinking. That's like one of those shots that they did in everything where the guy sees something crazy, he looks at his bottle and then tosses it away. I better stop drinking.
Unfortunately, Flower passed from cancer in 2004 at the age of 66.
Okay, that's super sad. But he was only 66? He looked like he was 66 and They Live.
I know.
Which means...
That means he was...
Younger than both of us.
He was in his early 30s or late 20s when he was doing this. He's one of those people. I mean,
looked old.
Look at Angela Lansbury, man. She was playing 60 for like 50 years.
Yeah, she played... She played Frank Sinatra's mom when she was like 2 years older than him.
Yes. Manchurian Candidate, such a good movie.
Yes.
They cast Peter Jason as Gilbert, one of the revolutionaries.
Gilbert.
Jason is one of the few actors who actually have been born in Hollywood, being raised in Newport Beach. He's the ultimate character actor and one of those faces you recognize but can never name. Jason appeared in a number of Western TV shows in the late 60s before being cast in his first feature, Rio Lobo, a film by Howard Hawks, starring John Wayne.
Well, he was really good in that.
He's worked with Walter Hill and John Carpenter not exclusively. He's in a ton of other stuff. He's worked with them a lot. Walter Hill films 9 of them. The Driver in 1978, The Long Riders in 1980, 48 Hours in 1982, Streets of Fire in 1984, Brewster's Millions in 1985, which I forgot was a Walter Hill movie.
Yeah, what is going on with him?
Red Heat in 1988, a great Schwarzenegger Belushi movie.
I'm from Russia. I'm Russian.
Johnny Handsome in 1989, which I think I've seen. It sounded familiar.
Johnny Handsome was pretty good. I think that was starring Mickey Rourke.
Yes.
If I'm not.
Yes.
And he was like a criminal or something that was disfigured.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad.
Wild Bill in 1995 and Undisputed in 2002. He's also appeared in 6 John Carpenter films, including They Live, Prince of Darkness in 1987, In the Mouth of Madness in 1994, Village of the Damned in 95, Escape from L.A. in 96, and Ghosts of Mars in 2001. He's also done a number of voiceover roles for video games. He was in 2 Wing Commander games. He played Sergeant Dornan in Fallout 2.
Nice.
And he did a few voices for Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3. He's appeared in almost 300 projects during his very long career. He most recently was known for playing Con Stapleton in the HBO series Deadwood.
He's also got that face that's
Yeah.
like very... He looks like a nice guy.
Yeah, he looks like somebody you just want to hang out with.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, hi, come on in and have some burgers.
His most recent credit is the Deadwood movie that came out a few years ago. He is still actively working. He just haven't had anything recently.
He was in Justified. He was great in that, playing Owen Cards. But
I still need to watch that.
Justified's
I've
so
heard great
good.
things. Yeah,
it's one of my favorites.
Peter Jason is fantastic.
Yeah.
Everything he does, he shows up in everything. Like,
Everything.
I mean, the man has worked nonstop since like 1965.
He was in Baskets. His Uncle Jim.
Oh, what? That's right.
Yeah.
God, I love that show. It was so messed up. I love that
Yes.
show. Cy Richardson was cast as the Black Revolutionary. Richardson made his film debut as the fairy godmother in the 1977 American erotic musical comedy Cinderella. I've never seen this. I kind of have to find it. I have no idea. He's perhaps best known as a regular in the films of Alex Cox, having appeared in Repo Man in 1984, Sid and Nancy in 1986, Straight to Hell in 1987, Walker in 1987 as well, The Winner in 1996, and Searchers 2.0 in 2007.
Searchers 2.0.
Yep.
Is that like a sequel to the John Wayne movie, The Searchers?
I don't think so. I think it was some internet-based thing. I've never seen it. These last 4 movies I've never seen.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think I've seen Straight to Hell.
Yeah, I mean, probably. Yes, I'm going to say I probably have too, but I don't recall. He recently had a recurring role as the coroner on the TV series Pushing Daisies. He's appeared in over 100 projects and continues to work despite being in his early 80s. They Live was shot in 8 weeks during March and April in 1988, principally on location in downtown Los Angeles with a budget only slightly greater than $3 million.
Which is insane. But also, it's so funny to watch these movies in Los Angeles back then because
yeah.
it's you look and you say, there's some buildings missing from the skyline here.
There's a lot of buildings missing, yeah.
Some of the biggers.
Carpenter brought real homeless people into the production for several scenes and smaller characters and gave them food as well as paychecks.
I was going to say.
Gave them food. It's literally what
They just get these homeless guys. We'll give them some sandwiches, a couple of.
I
Give them some bourbon.
I like that they make it seem like he's like a great person for this when there's literally a caterer in every production.
Yeah, but he paid them.
I know,
mean,
he did
paid
pay them. He didn't just pay them in food. Yeah.
I mean, and it's great. Look, honestly, to give
Yeah.
People work and
Give them a little money. Yeah, I'm sure some people were very thankful. The big fight The big fight sequence was designed, rehearsed, and choreographed in the backyard of director John Carpenter's production office. The fight between Nada and Frank was only supposed to last 20 seconds, but Piper and David decided to fight it out for real, only faking the hits to the face and groin. Every body blow you see in that movie is real.
What a bunch of weirdos. Which is one of the best fights ever. And it's funny because when we were watching it, Phoebe's like, why is everybody just don't want to put these glasses on? And she's right. But it was their metaphor for people don't want change.
Yep.
They
They don't
like
wanna
they
see the
don't want to
truth.
see the
Yeah.
truth. They'll
Yeah.
fight tooth and nail. And I think that this fight, as gratuitous as it was, was the perfect metaphor.
Oh, no,
for
this-
people not wanting to face up to the truth.
They rehearsed it, and it got longer and longer and longer. And then they rehearsed it for like 3 weeks, and then they presented it to Carpenter, and he was like, I'm going to do the whole thing. I'm not cutting anything. Because they
Which is
literally
so
were like,
great.
just cut it down to what you want. And he
Yeah.
was like, nope, whole thing.
But it's the beginning, Nada, which is kind of a weird name for Rowdy Roddy Piper, let's be honest. I love it. Means nothing in Spanish.
Yeah. He's nobody. Yeah.
He is nobody. He's nada. He's nothing.
Nada.
At the beginning, he's like, he wants his friend to see the truth. I want you to see it. And by the end, they're literally trying to murder each other. You know? I mean, they're hitting each other with like, glass. I mean, it gets way out of control.
That fight sequence has one of the best reactions, the best acting that Roddy Piper's ever done when he breaks the car window and realizes that it's Keith David's car, and he's just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, puts it down. He's like, all of it's forgotten. He's just like, nope. He's like, that's too far.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, he was so impressed. Carpenter was so impressed that he kept the scene intact. It runs a total of 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
It feels like it runs forever.
It feels like 15. Yeah.
Because fight scene, I mean, there's few movies that can pull off really good, long, sustained fight scenes.
Yeah.
I would say this. Old Boy, the fight scene in the corridor is one of the best fight scenes ever with the hammer. Oh my God.
So good.
But I love those scenes that just go on so long, it gets to the point where you're like, it's got to stop. But then it goes so far that it's good again.
Yeah,
and you don't want it to stop.
Right. It's like the Peter fighting the chicken in Family Guy,
yes.
where it hit that one episode where it like happened, and you're like, oh, it's gonna last like 10 seconds, and it's literally the rest of the episode.
And it has to be based on this. I mean,
Yes,
they had
yes.
to have been influenced by They
yeah,
Live for that
yeah.
chicken scene.
Oh yeah. The aliens are from Andromedon, as George Buckflower explains at the transportation device after being zhuzhed up by the aliens, which is
Andromedon.
You did it very well earlier, where he literally explains the entire plot. Just goes in and goes, "Hey guys, I'm the guy in the suit now to tell you how things are."
Let me tell you.
Yeah. Shout out to Titus Andromedon on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I don't know if they took it from this, but
Oh, he is so good. Titus Burgess.
there you go. Yeah. Titus Burgess, he's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic actor.
They need to put him in more stuff. I miss him.
I know. I don't know if he got the name from They Live for Titus Andromedon or the writers did, but I want to believe they did.
hope
I just
so.
want to believe they did.
It would seem like something that Tina Fey would do.
I think Tina Fey's a fan of They Live, yeah.
I would like that.
I would too. All the various aliens throughout the movie, both male and female, were portrayed by stunt coordinator Jeff Amata, except when multiple aliens were on screen.
Because you can only be one person, Adam.
I know. He played the ghouls who had close-ups and speaking parts. Carpenter went on record saying that he could just fit in the clothes, so they made him do it.
That's how it works.
The aliens were designed to look like they were slowly rotting away to show the undercurrent of corruption.
What are you looking at? We have one that can see.
Yeah, always the watches. There were so many cool things
Apple
about
Watch.
this movie. Yeah,
They gave us Apple Watches,
They
though.
did. Yeah.
It was worth it. And look, man, they want us just to eat and watch TV. What's so bad about that?
Wow, you would be a sympathizer.
Yeah, I would be.
You'll notice in some of the shots that the alien guards are using something that looks suspiciously like a PKE meter from Ghostbusters. In this case, it was designed to not find ghosts, but people.
Yeah, it was a people PK meter.
Yes. It was also used in the Hulk Hogan movie Suburban Commando in 1991 and appeared in a few episodes of Knight Rider. Fun things about the PKE meter I did not know.
It has a better career than a lot of actors.
Oh my God, that's true. The sunglasses are called Hoffman lenses, named after Alfred Hoffman, the creator of LSD.
Nice. That's actually pretty awesome.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Carpenter probably dropped a few hits once in a while.
Sure.
I don't think that's...
He's got the open-mindedness of a man who's done hallucinogens.
Oh, yeah. Originally scheduled for an October 21st, 1988 release date, the film was moved to November 4th in order to avoid competition with Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Which is probably a good idea, even though he's competing against his own franchise.
Yeah. Ironically, Carpenter had been producer and co-writer of the first 3 Halloween films, directed the first, obviously, but Halloween 4 was the first in the series that he was made entirely without his involvement.
Well, that's why it blew.
I
don't remember which one that was about.
I don't know. They just, after Halloween 3 and not having Michael Myers, they had to really make sure that you knew Michael Myers was coming back.
Yeah, this one was all about Michael Myers moving to a new city, and he's a fish out of water.
Gets a new job at that lawyer firm.
Until he finds a girl he wants to kill, but he ends up falling in love.
Oh.
Michael Myers in Halloween 4, Sex in the City.
Would have been a better movie than Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Yep.
They Live debuted at number 1 at the box office, growing $4.8 million during its opening weekend. The film spent 2 weeks in the top 10. Despite this, it would only go on to make around $13 million in North America.
Still a profit. It only cost $3 million to make.
I mean, it made its money back, for sure.
$1 million of that was on sunglasses.
Carpenter was shocked that it opened at number 1. He was convinced it wouldn't, or that it wouldn't do well at all.
Well, yeah, because it's a difficult film. I mean,
Yeah.
Rowdy Roddy Piper wasn't a tested leading man at this point. He was just a wrestler, and wrestlers didn't, like you said, they didn't.
No,
they didn't charge the box office.
They
like
weren't
they do
leading
now.
men. No.
And it was a difficult film about difficult issues. It's this seemingly simple science fiction film with all these complex anti-consumerism, anti-fascist elements to it that made it such a great film.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what? People don't like complicated, Adam.
Well, it's obviously gone on to be a huge cult classic. It's cast a very long shadow over pop culture. Shepard Fairey, the artist, credits the film as a major source of inspiration, sharing a similar logo to his Andre the Giant Has a Posse campaign.
Oh, yeah.
The whole obey thing.
Yeah.
He said,
They Live was the basis for my use of the word obey. The movie has a very strong message about the power of commercialism and the way people are manipulated by advertising.
yes, Shepard Fairey, that is correct.
I'm Shepard Fairey.
The 2013 video game Saints Row 4 features an extended parody of They Live, with Rowdy Piper and Keith David voicing fictionalized versions of themselves in a recreation of the fight scene between Nada and Armitage.
Oh, God, it's so good. That's also
I don't remember this.
Oh, God. Well, there's a whole alien invasion part
Right,
of
right.
Saints Row 4. And this is also the game that has... Burt Reynolds is
Oh,
the
yeah,
mayor.
that's right.
And you could just hang out with Burt Reynolds. This
Drive
game,
around.
Oh, I got to play this again.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I do too.
Now I totally forgot about the They Live
thing,
part.
yeah.
Now I got to do it.
Yeah. South Park recreated the entire fight scene shot for shot, with Jimmy and Timmy fighting, if you remember that.
Yes, that was amazing.
2 kids in wheelchairs, or no, one in a wheelchair.
One in his crutches and one
in
is in a
crutches.
wheelchair.
You're right. Sorry, but them fighting literally shot for shot was fantastic.
Hey, have you heard this one? Have you heard this one? Timmy! Yeah, it was a good fight.
In 2010, there was development on a remake of the film with Carpenter in a producing role. In 2011, Matt Reeves of Cloverfield signed on to direct and write the screenplay.
Nope.
The project also shifted away from being a remake of They Live to a re-adaptation of 8 O'Clock in the Morning, ditching the satirical and political elements. Since then, there have been no new announcements.
Yeah, we don't need it. We don't need it. This film is great.
I love that they decided that they were like, you know what? We're not going to make a remake of They Live. We're going to strip away everything that made it memorable.
Yeah, let's take out the fun and just make it a grueling, gross thing. That's the thing. I mean, that's what we talked about with Nightmare on Elm Street. They take the fun out of these remakes and make them these gritty, realistic portrayals of whatever.
Yeah.
And what makes this so much fun, look, this movie is vegetables. But it's vegetables deep fried with a bunch of cheese and meat around it, you know?
Right.
So those are the best kind of movies. Same thing with South Park. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
You hide your message in there, and like a pill and some peanut
Right,
butter for a
right.
dog.
Yeah.
And we see it. This movie is so much fun. It's such a great encapsulation of Los Angeles of the time.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
the parts of Los Angeles that you never see in movies. The homeless camps, the downtown
Yeah.
areas, the non-glamorous parts of L.A., the parts of L.A. that people try to hide.
Yeah.
This was all in full display in this movie. It was a champion of homelessness. It was a champion of a bunch of different things. And it just started and didn't stop.
Oh, yeah.
As soon
yeah.
as he comes with his big old backpack and his giant sleeping bag.
And the music, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it's like
It's
this,
just so like weird,
got this
depressing.
techno blues, you know.
yeah.
Bow, bow, bow,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. You know, and he's moping around looking for work, looking
Yeah,
for whatever.
The movie has so much. This is the brilliance of a great director, because he knew what he wanted to make,
Yeah.
and everything that happens in the movie supports that theme.
And the movie is still prescient today. It still
Yes.
works today because we still have the homeless issues, we still have the economic issues,
Yeah.
we still have the economic disparity, and we definitely have a media that's telling us to consume and watch TV and do all this stuff,
Yeah.
except they don't have to use subliminal
No
advertising because we're
no.
just like, okay,
Give me some Big Macs and watch me some Netflix.
I love the fact that the whole movie is shot downtown, except for the part where he goes to Holly's house, which
Yeah.
is obviously like in the Hollywood Hills somewhere. And the metaphor is that when he's there, he literally gets thrown out a window down a hill.
Yeah.
You are not good enough for this. So
No,
I'm
you don't
throwing
belong
you
here.
out.
And then what a great, I mean, could you imagine throwing little old, what's her name?
Meg Foster.
Little tiny Meg Foster throws giant old Roddy Piper through a window and he falls like, I don't know, a story and a half.
At
'cause it's on
least.
stilts. Boom, hits the ground on the back, rolly down the hill, and then he just gets up.
Hides.
Time to go.
I'm gonna go hang out for a bit, and then literally the next day gets into a 45-minute fight with his best friend.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know whoever he is.
They're now best friends. Sometimes you got to beat up a guy to become best friends. That happened to me
true.
in grade school.
Oh yeah,
Beat
yeah.
up a kid. We got sent to the principal's office and became best pals.
Also, really sad with there's little rewatching it again. There was little lines that I totally forgot about, like the fact that Frank, the Keith David character, talks about how he's married and has kids.
Yeah.
By the end, spoiler alert. By the end, everybody's dead.
Yeah, everybody.
Like it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I feel so bad, and the way he dies is just so sad. It's so sad.
Well, it's kind of off screen too. Meg Foster pops
she
up.
shoots him.
Yeah.
And that's when you know those freaky eyes, man.
Yeah, never trust those eyes. Never trust Meg Foster.
There were so many. I forgot that he gets thrown out the window. Like,
Yeah.
that is a long fall.
Well, it's just crazy that such a fun movie is such a bleak.
So
ending.
bleak, depressing.
But that's Carpenter. Carpenter does
doesn't.
such a good job of portraying
Yeah.
everything out of whack. Like
Yeah.
Escape from New York is an amazing treatise on, 1% versus 99%.
Right,
and it's
right.
like, well, screw it. We're just going to wall off New York and make it a prison,
Why not?
Why not? But he is so good he does such a good job of creating tension.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
The Thing.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
The Thing is the most effective movie about paranoia I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it is, again, a metaphor of the other, and you never know.
Yeah, they're political without being political, and
They're fun. They're fun.
they're good. Yeah, this is the movies that he did that don't have that don't succeed as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at Big Trouble in Little China. He took the whole trope of the hero and threw it on his head.
Yeah,
The big
yeah.
white hero coming in to save everybody. Well, he's not as good as
Nope,
the other
nope.
guys, and he's got to get saved.
Yeah.
So he's always kind of had he's always kind of had a edge to him where he zigs where other people zag.
Right.
And look, a lot of directors have initial success. They make a movie that makes $150 million.
Yeah.
And that movie is forgotten in 3 years.
Right.
Carpenter makes these movies that at the time are ahead of their time, a little
Right.
bit challenging, not because they're, hoity-toity or anything.
No.
But they're not easily put into a box and easily sold,
Yeah.
through McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Right.
So these movies have this lasting impression of people that are curious and people that want to,
Right.
see things that are different and
Want to do that extra work.
right.
Yeah.
And so these movies stand the test of time because all of them are evergreen in terms of the
Yeah.
themes and everything that's going on. The Thing could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
the same thing today with very little difference.
Right.
They Live, the same thing, with very
Yeah.
little difference. These things last because the issues that he tackles are issues that never go away.
Right. And it is they are challenging but accessible, and they do get to the point that you have that when you kind of figure out what's going on or like what it means, you have that satisfaction of like, oh yeah, it actually I had to look for this. I had
Yeah.
to find this and work for it. And it just makes you appreciate the movies that much more.
And his really good movies, and I say his best are Escape from New York, The Thing, They Live, and
Big Trouble.
Big Trouble in Little China. Those are probably the top four.
Yeah.
And they're classics.
Yeah, absolute
and
classics.
They should
yeah.
not be remade. Because
yeah.
there's a certain type of director that makes a movie a certain way. And he is a guy that his movies are his movies. If you see a John Carpenter movie, you know it's a John Carpenter movie. Not just because of the music, which is awesome. But he has a way of doing stuff. And remaking those movies without his themes and without his underlying persona
Yeah.
it just misses the mark. It's just
No,
who
I agree.
cares?
I agree. And it's not, yeah, because you're just trying to do something that somebody else does, and that's what a good director you can't replicate a good director.
You can't remake E.T.
Yeah.
You can't remake The Thing. You can't remake Star Wars. You can't.
You
know,
can't
there's
remake Psycho. Like it's
no.
not,
You can't. You could try.
They did.
Shot for shot. Not really
Kind
shot.
of, but that's the thing, and that's why every movie after the original Halloween was okay. I
Yeah.
mean, Halloween 2, but he didn't direct any of them, and they tried to be him and they couldn't because they weren't.
Yeah. I mean, Halloween is a different. These franchises that become out of control,
Sure.
they are what they are. But they're never going to be the original Halloween.
But
the sense of dread with the original Halloween.
Yeah.
It's such a perfect little movie because it's just this crazy guy escapes from an asylum and goes after the neighborhood. I mean, it's very self-contained and it makes sense. You know, all of his movies are very self-contained and they make sense.
Yeah.
And he's just one of the best filmmakers of the 80s. And
Agreed.
I love him, and I want to play video games with him. Maybe we can play Red Dead Online with him or something.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't directed anything since Ghosts of Mars, but he did all the music for the last 3 Halloween movies. He's released a bunch of albums since 2009.
Look, that guy can do whatever he wants. He's given us some of the greatest films of the 80s that live on today. Some of my favorite films, my absolute favorite horror film, The Thing. They Live is one of my, Escape from New York is brilliant. I can't wait for us to do that. It's just Carpenter is one of the greatest American filmmakers, and I also believe he is extremely underrated.
Agreed.
And I think people just, dismiss him as a horror filmmaker, or
Right,
this
right.
filmmaker, or a schlocky,
that weird sci-fi
with his
violent
weird
movie. Yeah.
beats, and who knows what that music is? It's just a bunch of beeps and bloops.
Well, that's what. Did you see at the end of They Live? The announcers, after all the stuff comes up, and you can hear announcers talking about how movies got so violent, like George Romero movies and John Carpenter movies, and it's like, he knows, he knows.
It's just fun. If you haven't seen it, watch it, because it's a really great movie, and it's a very telling movie about consumerism.
Yeah.
And it's a great metaphor. It's done in such a really fun way. It's the best thing Roddy Piper's ever done. It made me really like that. I was a fan of Roddy Piper's. From that movie on.
Same.
Watch anything that he did.
I watched him wrestle because I wanted to see that guy from that movie.
He was awesome. Look, there's nobody better than Carpenter when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I'm really glad that we're covering him because he needs some more attention. He needs to get a little bit more love from the Hollywood world, and let's not shove him under the rug. He's the man.
He is.
And we're going to be doing more of his movies.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with Total Recall. Yeah. Very excited about Total Recall.
That's Total Recall.
Oh, my God.
You gotta remember everything, because I have Total Recall.
I cannot wait to talk about the commentary, the DVD commentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger and either Rennie Harlan or Jan de Bont.
Rennie Harlan, I think.
Anyway, they both have accents. And the whole time is just Arnold literally saying what's on screen.
Look, there's a woman with 3 breasts.
Here I am going up the stairs.
Look at me. They put me into a chair, and then they strapped me down in the chair, and I couldn't get out. I was really strapped in. But if I would have said, hey, I need to get out to go to take a pee, then they would unstrap me and let me go pee.
Yeah, he
because I'm just an actor. I'm not really the person in
points
the
out
movie.
that he's literally using someone as a human shield. It's like you can hear the director like, yeah, we're literally watching it.
Oh, look at this part. I remember this part. It was very it was scary because Sharon Stone is super mean to me all the time.
I really like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's just laughably humorous.
Oh, he's
Anyway, we'll be back next week with Total Recall. Carpenter has always been I just said that. Roddy Piper, whose real name is Roderick George Toombs.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Blossom, already in progress.